Khan and I'm cookery editor at Woman's Weekly magazine, and I'm going to show you how to make choc and nut cookies. Now the easiest way to make these is to use a food processor, and I'm going to tip the flour in, and then I'm going to roughly chop the butter. The butter is at room temperature so that it will mix in quite easily. And then I'm going to add the caster sugar and a pinch of salt. And then I'm going to whiz this until the mixture binds together. So I'm going to scrape it down and then just whiz it a little bit longer. Now at this stage it's just like an ordinary shortbread dough, so it needs to have the chocolate and the nuts added. You can add them to the bowl of the food processor, but I actually find it easier to do it in a slightly wider top bowl. So I'm going to tip all of that mixture into the bowl and then add the chocolate chunks and the chopped nuts. And then I'm going to use my fingers to work this together to form the dough. This may take a few minutes to work together, depending on the temperature of your hands and how hot the room is, until it all starts to bind together. But just keep working it and it will come together to form a dough. Okay, so once it starts to soften into a dough, you can take a sheet of baking parchment and then lift it onto it and shape it into a sausage shape. And then you can roll it. So I'm using the paper to help shape it. And then this needs to be chilled for at least 30 minutes, or you can leave it in the fridge for several days and then just cut off the amount you need at a time to cook. Or you can even freeze it if you want to. Freeze it as a raw dough. So I'm going to pop that into the fridge, as I say, for 30 minutes. So when the dough is nice and firm, you can unwrap it and then cut it into slices. So you cut it into slices that are about 1 centimetre thick. And then spread them out on a baking sheet which is lined either with baking parchment or with a non-stick liner. If the dough is very firm, then they might be slightly crumbly. So as you cut them, push them together on the baking sheet. So I'm going to leave that dough to cook at a later date. So I'll wrap it back again and pop that back in the fridge. Now these cookies I'm going to spread out on the baking tray, and they go into the oven at 180 degrees centigrade for about 15 to 20 minutes. So when the cookies are a light golden colour, you can take them out of the oven and then transfer them onto a wire rack and leave them to cool. These are quite nice chunky cookies. And then I'm going to leave those to cool. They can either be left to cool completely, or you can eat them when they're still a little bit warm. So that's my choc and nut cookies.